Hello, everyone. We are in MBA 604, Innovation and Sustainability. And in this recording, we are going to go over the final exam review for part 1. I am Joni Roberts. I'm the Vice Program Chair and Consulting Professor for Saylor's MBA program. So welcome. As you know, we're following the study guide, we're following the learning outcomes, and the first exam review covers the first half of the course. So we're looking at Unit 1 and Unit 2. All right, so the final exam is broken out into 4 case studies. And today we're going to be reviewing 2 of those case studies. And let's see, they are composed of multiple choice questions that engage critical thinking. So these are a little bit harder than your typical multiple choice questions. And in some of these cases, you're going to be asked to evaluate the best possible choice. So there could be more than one, answer, but if you're an MBA level sustainability consultant and you're thinking on those terms, there is really one best choice out of all of them. All right, so reflect carefully before responding. All right, how to prepare. I highly recommend that you engage with all of the learning activities. So you have a lot here at your disposal to access and really learn about all of the material that you need to in order to be successful on the exam. So we have books, we have articles, videos, and all sorts of learning resources. So read through all of that. View all of these live lectures. I do think that the live lectures help bring the material to life and help you to engage with it even better. Take the end of unit assessment. So quiz yourself in advance. Carefully review the study guide. Engage in the course by posting in the discussions and even posting right here on this YouTube video. Another thing is to study all of the learning resources. So not just the ones highlighted in the live lectures or the study guide or the end of unit assessments. The questions are drawn from each learning resource. So you can consider what we're doing here in the live lectures as sort of highlights of some of the course material to bring forward the the learning objectives and the outcomes that you're needing to master to pass this course. All right, so we're back here with the polar bear, and the polar bear represents Unit 1. So whenever you see this polar bear, you know you're in Unit 1 and going through the learning outcomes there. So this unit is all about definitions and concepts, and where we talked about, what is innovation, what is sustainability, and how are businesses adapting and responding to these changes in the marketplace. And our first case is on runway brands and the fashion industry. So the names, the company, the names, and the events in this case are fictional, but they do represent what's something that, really can and does happen in the real world. So let's dive into the case. So we have Isabel Lawton. She stood staring out the window of her corner CEO suite at Runway Brands, wondering how it all came to this. Outside, hundreds of social and environmental protesters rallied to target her company as a top polluter in the global fashion industry. 5 years earlier, Isabel Lawton was hired to save the struggling company from near bankruptcy. Outpaced by its competitors, Runway Brands fell behind in consumer demand and sales had tumbled. To keep up, Isabel Lawton was tasked with accelerating the company into the fast fashion business model, where designer brands were quickly replicated and sold at steep discounts. Instead of the traditional industry model of sourcing and stocking for two major seasons, like spring and summer, and then again in fall and winter, runway brands geared up to join as competitors by offering 52 fashion seasons per year. To do this, clothing was sourced with low-cost fabrics and made in low-wage manufacturing facilities found in developing nations such as China, Vietnam, Brazil, and India. Once ready, items were quickly shipped to retail locations in major cities in Europe and the United States. So, with a renewed marketing campaign, sales took off. Each week, customers flocked to the stores to get the latest fashion items and tried to be first to catch the new markdowns and clearance prices on items that arrived only a few weeks prior. Wall Street investors were pleased to see the quarterly gains, and Isabel Lawton was featured in business magazines as a top CEO who saved runway brands. She felt proud of her accomplishments. After all, she saved the company from bankruptcy, saved jobs, and hired more workers abroad in retail and production sides of the business. For Isabel Lawton, it came as a shock to see protesters carrying signs with slogans such as "Save our global commons," "No fashion on a dead planet," "There is no planet B," "Ethical is always on trend," "Made in poverty," and "Repair, rewear, rebel." TV news reporters interviewed protest leaders who criticized runway brands for dumping chemicals in waterways, contributing to climate change, creating microplastic pollution, selling toxic clothing, and enabling poor working conditions in factories. After weeks of ongoing protests and international news coverage that went viral on social media, runway brands' share prices plummeted. So, could this be an opportunity for sustainable solutions? Isabel Lawton reflected on how she had resurrected runway brands once and realized it was time to reinvent the company. It would take rethinking its business practices and finding new solutions. Isabel invited her executive team to join her and a Saylor sustainability consultant at a mountain retreat to review the issues and develop an innovative sustainability plan. As a sustainability consultant, you are tasked with preparing problem statements and proposing possible solutions in innovation and sustainability for the fashion industry. To do so, you need to address the following questions. All right, so there's our case study, and we can see how Isabel Lawton truly believed she was doing the right things. I mean, that's what she was taught when she went to MBA school. That's how other companies succeeded on Wall Street and how share prices skyrocketed. She thought she saved the company, yet now she's facing new issues related to sustainability and the protests going on around the world against pollution and against inequities. So, all right, I have offered up one test question out of 240 possible test questions between both exams, the certificate exam and the final exam if you're going for credit in the course, or the certificate exam if you're going for a certificate level in the course. I chose a slightly easier one, and just as an example, because I want the more challenging multiple choice questions to be the ones that separate those who studied lightly and those who really studied, deeply and spent more time in the material. All right, so here is an example test question. As a Saylor sustainability consultant preparing for the retreat with Runway Brands, while researching other businesses that have adopted sustainability initiatives, what are the top reasons you discover as to why businesses increasingly engage in sustainability? Is it A, businesses are engaging in these activities because of the desire to take on new challenges and increase their visibility in industry sectors? Is it B, businesses are engaging in these activities because they recognize they can benefit from short-term government incentives and tax savings? Or is it C, businesses are interested in sustainability solely because of the market and profit-making opportunities associated with sustainable business practices? Or is it D, businesses are engaging in these activities because they recognize they can play a positive role in helping to solve the world's environmental and social problems? You might look at these questions and think, whoa, could be more than one, right? Could be. But what's a top reason? And you're a sustainability consultant. So what are you going to share, right? It's not just what is any reason, it's what's a top reason. All right, so what could that be? The answer is D. That is the top reason, the best reason why businesses are adopting sustainability initiatives. So they recognize they can play a positive role in helping to solve the world's environmental and social problems. All right, so I went through both exams, the certificate and the final credit exams, and I looked at themes and keywords across all of the questions. And these are the things that you need to prepare for the first half of the exam, which is, hold on. For the first half of the exam, but this relates to Unit 1, definitions and concepts. So we also have Unit 2 coming up, which will give you more themes and keywords. All right, so for this first case, let's say that these are the themes and keywords that came up across all of the multiple choice questions that go with that first case. All right, things like, you should know, what is innovation and what is sustainability? What actions do sustainable businesses undertake? What are the traditional views in business, like how Isabel Lawton ran her company versus sustainability views that she needs to shift into and be more like? Triple bottom line, how about considerations for natural resources, the global commons, the tragedy of the commons? Limits versus no limits to growth, systems thinking, social responsibility, stakeholders versus shareholders, values approach, multi-value creation. These are some keywords and themes. All right, here are some more. Strategic planning for sustainability, right? Strategic planning and thinking, innovation and breakthrough, generic factors and processes, ecosystems and biodiversity. By the way, the breakthrough, generic factors and processes, we will be talking more about that in Unit 3. And it does appear in Unit 1 as well. And it also is in your learning materials. I just want you to know that none of these units are exclusive of one or the other. You know, there's overlap that goes between them. So by the time you finish the whole course, you'll be able to do that, you know, weave in information from Unit 3 when you need to for Unit 1's quiz questions. Other things like ecosystems and biodiversity, pollution control and prevention, eco-efficiency, carbon footprint, biomimicry, life cycle analysis, circular economy, cradle to cradle, environmental justice, design for environment, fast fashion, which there are learning materials that specifically dive into fast fashion, and some research articles, as well as the moral responsibility theory in Chinese textile factories. All right, I know it sounds like a lot, but once you get into it and you really grasp these concepts, you will be able to make the right best choice on your multiple choice uh, um, quiz questions. All right, that's unit 1. Now we are heading into our unit 2 exam review and our next case. All right, so unit 2 is, highlighted with this image, which is uh, the wind farm and the solar. So whenever you see this, you know you're in unit 2. I'm a visual person. That's why I add things like that. It helps me organize. It helps me quickly identify things. So that's how I designed these live lectures for all of you. So case 2 is covering unit 2, sustainability policies, practices, and leadership, right? So we were talking about, government roles and frameworks and leading through innovative practices and policies. All right, so our case here is called Uniglobal, Becoming a Force for Good. And this case is loosely based on a real company. The names and events in this case are fictional, but I'm sure you will recognize another company called Unilever as a close yet not exactly the same company. All right, so Uniglobal is a fast-moving consumer goods company, and you can see the picture here in a store that sells many of their products. So Uniglobal, a 100-year-old fast-moving consumer goods company with a global supply chain and customer base, has been experiencing unusual yet steadily declining market share on its flagship brands for the past 3 years. The company's products represent non-durable goods that have a short lifespan, a relatively low cost, and are consumed quickly. The company began in 1920 as a soap maker and grew mainly through mergers and acquisitions to become one of the top 3 consumer goods companies in the world. Today, Uniglobal has 100,000 employees worldwide and carries over 400 brands covering diverse categories such as packaged foods, beverages, cleaning products, beauty products, and personal care. All right, shifting worldviews, values, and consumer preferences. So in recent years, the growing concerns about climate change and sustainability have placed attention on how companies impact the environment and communities where they operate. With online news sites and social media, these ideas have spread around the world, shifting consumer preferences. After evaluating the sales data and consumer trends, Uniglobal has discovered their customers are buying from competitors who have adopted organic, fair trade, social, and environmental practices. As part of a plan to increase customer loyalty and market share, Uniglobal has decided to investigate how it can improve its sustainability leadership, integrate sustainability practices, and actively promote better policies. New leadership. To lead the initiatives, Uniglobal has hired a new CEO, Paula Gerardis, to galvanize the company to be an effective force for good. Considering the great number of products the company carries, the 2 billion people it sells to every day around the world, and the web of global suppliers it works with, Paula Gerardis realizes she has taken on a large and important responsibility for the company, its employees, and the world. In this scenario, you will assume the role of the Sustainability Advisor to CEO Paula Gerardus. All right, so here we are sharing one example multiple choice question from, inspired by the readings and materials in our course. And the question is, what steps can Uniglobal take to re-engineer the company and implement a sustainability plan successfully? Should it A, adopt frugal innovation by inventing more products with cheaper prices, improve quality of life for stakeholders, and by growing environmental footprints, understand the inherent conflicts between sustainability and profitable growth, move social responsibility from an important facet of the company to a driving force? Well, what do you think? Right, the answer is D. And if you read the case study in the Breakthrough books and you read the one by Paul Pullman of Unilever, you will see that D is exactly what Unilever did to reinvent and re-engineer the company. All right, so again, going through both of the exams, looking at all of the multiple choice questions for Unit 2. These are the themes and the keywords that stood out as I went through them and that you should also be prepared to be tested on. All right, public policies, role of government, cap and trade policies, externalities, proactive, interactive, and reactive policy approaches, the production possibility frontier, fossil fuels and renewable energy, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the Millennium Development Goals, Earth 3 model, measuring sustainability with GRI, ESG, production and consumption, LEED, and sustainable building frameworks, strategic thinking and mindsets for sustainability, leadership mindsets and approaches, rebuilding social contracts and society's trust, responsible business practices for sustainability, carbon footprints and ethics, creative community spaces, entrepreneurship and innovation in local communities, citizen-driven innovation, and the purpose of a business, Milton Friedman's views on that, and views like shared value. All right, so if you have done everything, if you've read through all the learning resources, if you have watched these live lectures, if you've done the end of unit assessments and you've gone through the study guide, I feel confident that these are possibly challenging questions, yet I feel confident that they are fair questions. So I'm not throwing anything in there that there's not something in the course to support it. And if you're tuned in, I'm confident that you will do well on this exam. All right, so good luck. Again, this exam review covers the first half of the certificate and credit final exams, and you now have all the tools you need to be successful.